You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. Every wound that carved itself into your chest, every night you spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if you'd survive the morning, every betrayal that shattered your trust, every loss that hollowed you out until you were nothing but echo and emptiness. None of it was random, none of it was wasted. You thought you were breaking, but you were becoming. There's a question that haunts the sleepless hours of anyone who's suffered deeply. Why me? Why this? Why now? And the mind, desperate for meaning, cycles through explanations, karma, punishment, bad luck, a cruel universe that doesn't care. But what if the question itself is the misdirection? What if suffering doesn't ask why, it asks what for? Because here's the truth that no one tells you when you're in the depths of it. When the pain is so fresh, it hasn't even become a memory yet. It's still just raw experience burning through you. They don't tell you that the universe doesn't break you down to destroy you. It breaks you down to rebuild you, and not into who you were before, into who you were always meant to become. Look around at the person you are right now. The way you hold space for others when they're falling apart, because you know what it feels like to shatter. The way you can sit with discomfort without running, because you've lived in it, made a home in it, learned its language. The way you can sense a lie before it's fully spoken, smell manipulation before it takes shape, recognize red flags that used to be invisible to you. The way you trust your intuition now, not as some mystical gift, but as earned wisdom written in scar tissue. You didn't learn that in a classroom. You learned it in the fire. Think about the person you were before everything fell apart. Maybe you were naive. Maybe you were trusting in ways that left you vulnerable. Maybe you said yes when you meant no, stayed when you should have left, believed when you should have questioned. Maybe you gave your power away because you didn't even know you had any to give. You were soft in places where the world requires edges. You were open in ways that invited wolves. And then came the initiation. Maybe it was a relationship that slowly poisoned you with breadcrumbs and false promises. Maybe it was a career that demanded your soul and gave back nothing but exhaustion. Maybe it was a loss so sudden and violent it rewrote your understanding of reality. Maybe it was depression that swallowed you whole, or anxiety that convinced you the world was a threat, or trauma that fractured your sense of self into pieces you didn't know how to reassemble. You didn't sign up for it. You didn't choose it, but somewhere in the architecture of your becoming, it chose you. Because here's what the ancient mystery schools knew, what the shamanic traditions understood, what every wisdom lineage has whispered through time: transformation requires descent. The hero's journey isn't a fairy tale, it's a map of consciousness, and every map shows the same territory. You can't reach the treasure without entering the cave. You can't claim the crown without facing the dragon. You can't become who you're meant to be without dying to who you were. Carl Jung called it the night sea journey. The alchemists called it negredo, the blackening, the putrefaction, the stage where everything rots away so something new can emerge. In neuroscience, they talk about neural pruning, how the brain actually has to break old patterns, sever old connections, before it can wire new ones. Growth isn't addition, it's demolition. And you can't demolish anything without some dust, some noise, some temporary chaos that feels like catastrophe. The struggle was never the obstacle. It was the curriculum. Every person who broke your heart was teaching you discernment. Every job that crushed your spirit was showing you what you're not willing to tolerate anymore. Every failure that humiliated you was stripping away the false self you constructed to please others. Every illness that weakened your body was forcing you to find strength in places deeper than flesh. Every moment of isolation was giving you the space to hear your own voice again, beneath the noise of everyone else's expectations. You learn to say no. You learn that boundaries aren't walls, they're the architecture of self-respect. You learn that walking away doesn't make you a quitter, it makes you someone who knows their worth. You learn that forgiveness isn't about letting people back in, it's about releasing the weight so you can move forward. You learn that being alone isn't the same as being lonely, and that sometimes the most important relationship you'll ever build is the one with yourself. These aren't abstract lessons. These are lived truths, carved into your nervous system. You can't unknow them now. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't go back to the version of yourself that accepted crumbs and called it a feast, that mistook attention for love, that confused busy for purposeful, that thought sacrifice meant giving yourself away until there was nothing left. That version of you is gone, and good, because that version of you wasn't built to carry what's coming. Imagine a sword. Before it becomes a weapon of precision and power, it's just raw ore, formless, potential locked in stone. To become what it's meant to be, it has to be subjected to fire, melted down until it's liquid, poured into a mold, then hammered and hammered and hammered again. Each strike looks like damage. Each heat cycle looks like destruction. But the blacksmith isn't destroying the sword. He's forging it. You are that sword. And life has been the blacksmith. Every blow you took, every time you thought you couldn't endure one more second of the heat, you were being shaped, refined, strengthened, the impurities burned away, the weak spots hammered out, the edge sharpened until it could cut through anything. You weren't being torn apart, you were being made whole, and now you carry capabilities that people who never walked through fire will never understand. You carry resilience that doesn't flinch at chaos because chaos is familiar. You carry compassion that doesn't judge suffering because you've tasted every flavor of it. You carry wisdom that can't be taught in books because it was written in your bones. You carry power that doesn't need to announce itself because it's not performance, it's presence. This is what the struggle gave you, not scars to hide, scars to wear as proof that you survived the unsurvivable. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the plot twists in a way that most people miss. The training wasn't just about survival. It was about preparation. Because the universe doesn't waste energy. It doesn't put you through that level of transformation just so you can go back to a small life, a safe life, a life that asks nothing of you. No. You were being prepared for something specific. Something that requires exactly the skill set you developed in the darkness. Something that demands the version of you that emerged from the ashes, not the version that was comfortable in mediocrity. There's a calling on your life, a purpose, a mission that has your name written on it in a language older than words. And every single thing you went through was training for that. The betrayal taught you discernment so you'd know who to trust when the stakes are highest. The loss taught you detachment so you wouldn't cling to outcomes and could stay fluid in uncertainty. The failure taught you humility so you wouldn't lead from ego when power was placed in your hands. The pain taught you empathy so you'd remember what it feels like to suffer when you're in a position to help others. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and join a community of awakened souls walking the same journey of spiritual alignment. You weren't being destroyed, you were being equipped. Think about the people who inspire you most, the ones who carry a certain gravity, a certain depth, a certain quiet authority that can't be faked. The teachers, the leaders, the healers, the artists who create work that reaches into your chest and rearranges something. What do they all have in common? They've walked through fire. They've been to the underworld and brought something back. They don't speak from theory. They speak from experience. And that's why their words land differently. That's why their presence changes the room. You're becoming one of those people. You just might not see it yet, because right now you might still be in the gap, that strange, disorienting space between who you used to be and who you're becoming. The old life has fallen away, but the new one hasn't fully materialized yet. The old identity is dead, but the new one is still taking shape. You can feel that something is coming, something is shifting, something is aligning, but you don't have the full picture yet. And that's terrifying. This is the liminal space, the in-between, the void where nothing is solid and everything is potential. It's uncomfortable, it's supposed to be. This is where faith gets built. Not faith in some external deity or cosmic vending machine that gives you what you want if you pray hard enough. Faith in the process itself. Faith that the universe isn't random. Faith that your suffering had a purpose. Faith that you're exactly where you need to be, even when you have no idea where you are. The mystics called this the dark night of the soul, not because it's evil, but because it's the absence of light, the absence of clarity, the stripping away of all certainty until the only thing left is trust. And trust isn't a feeling, it's a choice to keep walking even when you can't see the path. A choice to believe that the path exists even when your feet are touching nothing but air. You're in the dark night because the dawn is coming, and the dawn isn't just a return to normal, it's the emergence of something new, a new chapter, a new level, a new version of reality that requires the new version of you to navigate it. This is why you had to go through everything you went through. This is why it had to break you. This is why it had to hurt. Because where you're going, you can't bring the old baggage. You can't bring the old fears, the old patterns, the old self-concepts. You have to travel light. And the only way to travel light is to let everything burn that doesn't belong to the next level. So what now? What do you do with this knowing? How do you step into the role you've been training for without even realizing it? First, you stop apologizing for what you've been through. Stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable with your complexity. Stop editing your story to sound more palatable. Your scars are not something to hide, they're your credentials. They're proof that you've earned your seat at the table, that you've paid the price for the wisdom you carry, that you're not speaking from a place of theory or privilege or ignorance, but from the trenches, from the battlefield, from the places where most people tap out. Second, you start recognizing synchronicity. Start paying attention to the moments when the universe confirms what you've been sensing. The book that falls off the shelf with the exact message you needed. The conversation that happens at the exact moment you were doubting yourself. The opportunity that appears right after you finally let go of trying to force it. These aren't coincidences. These are breadcrumbs. The universe showing you that you're on the right path, that the training is complete, that it's time to step into what you were prepared for. Third, you trust the timing. You might feel like you're behind. Like you wasted years, lost opportunities, fell off track. But what if there is no behind? What if the detours were the path? What if everything that delayed you was actually positioning you? What if you're not late? You're exactly on time for the version of the story that's yours to live. Because here's the secret that the ego hates, but the soul knows. There's no competition. There's no race. There's no scorecard. There's only your unique journey, unfolding at the exact pace it needs to unfold, preparing you for the exact moment you're meant to arrive. And that moment is now. The version of you that's emerging isn't just healed. It's weaponized with purpose. It's armored with wisdom. It's fueled with a quiet, unshakable knowing that you've already survived the worst, so nothing that's coming can break you. You're not fragile anymore. You're not naive anymore. You're not waiting for permission anymore. You're ready. And the world needs what only you can give, the specific medicine that only your specific wounds can produce, the art that only your specific pain can create. The leadership that only your specific failure can inform, the healing that only your specific suffering can facilitate. You're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out in a way that gives others permission to do the same. This is your moment. Not someday. Not when you're more prepared, more healed, more confident, more whatever. Now, because the training is over. The initiation is complete. The universe has already given you everything you need. And what you went through wasn't a punishment. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a detour. It was the path. The exact path you needed to walk to become who you needed to become, to do what you came here to do. So the question isn't, why did this happen to me? The question is, what am I going to do with what this made me? Because you're not the same person who entered that fire. You're the phoenix that rose from it. And phoenixes don't return to the nest. They soar higher than they ever could before. They create new patterns in the sky that others will follow. They become proof that transformation is possible, that death isn't the end, that the worst thing that ever happened to you can become the best thing that ever happened to you if you let it shape you instead of shatter you. Your struggles weren't random, they were training. And this, right now, right here, this moment where you're finally starting to see the shape of what you're becoming, this is what you were training for. So take a breath. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've survived, look at who you've become, and then look forward, because the real story is just beginning, and you're finally ready to write it. If this message landed, if it reminded you of something you needed to hear, don't just scroll past it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, not for the algorithm, but for yourself. Because choosing to align with content that elevates you is how you tell the universe you're ready for more. And you are. You're so ready. The training is complete. Now step into what you were prepared for. The world is waiting. The Cipher of Inner Stillness is a poetic journey through the hidden geometry of peace. Blending mystical philosophy, Jungian psychology, and cosmic symbolism, this ebook reveals that silence is not the absence of life. It is its source. Discover this and other codices that transform the way you see the universe through the link in the description. To celebrate your arrival, we've prepared a gift, a guide to help you navigate your inner transitions with clarity and elegance. Alignment, 7 phases of consciousness awakening. Download your copy from the link in the description.